see you guys in the dark.
So for some background, I am a woman. I'm using a throwaway account, and I've changed the names due to the material shared, and that this is the current and still ongoing through court proceedings. So for the purpose of this story, I will call my ex Wang. Wang was a grown man living in the city with his mom and sisters. I was a country girl in a rural Australia. We met 16 years ago through the internet dating, and after some time of him traveling back and forth, we moved in together. Things were great, and I was treated how a real man is supposed to treat a woman. But all that changed with the flick of some internal switch in his head. Suddenly, I discovered what a psychopath is. No, not a narcissist, and not just the word people throw around all the time in conversation. The proper psychopath. The one that meets every red flag in the checklist. Anyway, so began 9.5 years of abuse. Google different types of domestic violence. I endured every single one of those, but without that cycle the professionals talk about. From beating the crap out of me and strangulation when I was pregnant, with his child, to checking the odometer on the car, tracking my kilometers, and counting receipts. There was only one apology, and it wasn't meant. There were never flowers, or a honeymoon phase, or a build-up. He never took any substances, was never under the influence of alcohol, and didn't have any mental health issues. Anyhow, let's go to the crazy part of the story. Not that all of that wasn't crazy as it was. It is well known that most dangerous time for a person from an abusive relationship is when they leave, so I will skip to the beginning of the part of the story. After 9.5 years, I finally called the police. Not before he uttered the words about killing me and taking the children somewhere no one will ever find them. If you feel like you want to ask or say the ridiculous, why didn't you just leave before? Then you are part of the problem in the world. Do some research. Anyway, the police finally arrived 2 hours after my 000 call. 000 is Australia's emergency number. Neither officer was actually prepared to make an arrest. Neither were in uniform. Neither had a weapon or handcuffs. And they had to call for a backup divvy van to be able to arrest him. So here begins the proceedings, 5 years of torment, both by him and the justice system. Police bailed him to his relative's address, a block away, and the magistrate ruled, when making a restraining order, that it was perfectly acceptable for him to drive by my house whenever he wanted in case he was going to work. He was, and still is, a dull bludger, and also allowed him to make phone calls every day. So at this point, a relative of mine comes up to stay with me and the kids. They don't sleep. I barely sleep. Every day we are finding fresh smoke butts, not only around the front of the house, though also by the back door, which is behind a 6-foot fence. Wang is a smoker. After seeing Wang driving past the house every day, and fearing for the safety of the children, I leave and go to the safety of the relatives in another town with the children. A detective calls me a few days later with concerns of my welfare. His station has a request from Wang for a welfare check on the child, and obviously the house was empty. Now, if you're not familiar, in Australia, if there are no current family court orders, then it is presumed, regardless of any restraining orders or the family history, that both parents have equal and shared responsibility for any children from the relationship. Therefore, a dangerous and violent ex is well within their rights to use the police to locate the other parent and children by requesting a welfare check on their children at any address they have. This is perfectly legal. Having done the check, police inform the checkers yes or no the children are at the address and are safe and well. This can be done to narrow or even locate where you are hiding, and the police must respond to such requests. On top of that, this request was made after a vehicle was pulled over by police, less than a block away from where we had lived. At this time, Wang did not know we ran to the place of hiding. Inside that vehicle, police found Wang, 2 cousins of his, and a friend of his, as well as a shotgun. Remember that Australia has a strict gun law. That is not an area known for hunting. It's actually a suburb in a large rural town. None of the individuals in the car had a gun license or a gun registered to them. Of course, Wang was not penned for the weapon, and I was informed that police could not keep us safe. We stayed at this relative's place for a few months, and only upon leaving she informs me in the fact. She had seen Wang just standing outside of her kitchen window nearly every single night, in the middle of the night, just staring back. Not scary, right? Except when you find out that this relative's property was interstate from the previous place Wang and I lived. 5 hours away, actually. Wang had no relatives or known associates in this town. Her property was down a long driveway off a highway and literally right next door to a police training facility. Also, during this period, a judge felt that Wang's act of strangulation did not warrant any form of consequence, and he was allowed to walk from the courthouse a completely free man with no record on him. Given all this, we again fled, this time into yet another state, 3,000 kilometers away. Wang would have to be pretty bloody determined to get me if we were to make that trek. Turns out he was. It's November of 2014. I am trying to rebuild our broken lives far away from a torturous monster, and finally beginning to feel safe. I mean, we are far, far away. It's 10 p.m., and I'm hanging sheets out of the clothing line. The way this house is situated, it is a duplex, and a rear one for that matter, in a brand new estate that was not yet on digital mapping devices, or even known to emergency service GPS yet. No Google Earthing it, or old school mapping it would locate it. And my duplex isn't even visible by road. In fact, you wouldn't have even known there was one way back there. It looked as though it was just one house. To get to my door, you had to walk up a steep driveway and go through the side gate of the property that looked as though it led to the backyard of a house. So back to that night's event. I am hanging sheets on the line. Child had wet the bed again, and I hear a muffled type of cough sound. I glance to my left where the side gate is, and there is a gloved hand through the hole in the gate for a latch, and half a foot inside the gate. Now people say in situations like these that they get the chills. Not for me. My body tensed, and I am certain the whole thing went. Fuck. My brain just switched itself off for a few seconds. The intruder knew that I knew that they were there. I, in the best voice I could muster, which was more like a stuttering whisper, said, "I'm getting the dog," and not even looking away, began walking backwards into the open sliding door, closing it shut and locking it. Now I could feel my body. I could feel my heart, and certain it was about to pound out of my chest. My head was spinning, and I felt like I couldn't breathe. I managed to steady my hand enough to call the police, and they turn up eventually. The intruder was gone. A week later, I get a phone call from Wang who says he hasn't been able to call the kids because he just flew back into the city the other day. Then immediately corrected his slip of the tongue and said he was away for work. His call breached the terms of the restraining order, and so I made a report to the police. They looked into his particulars and discovered that in fact he had purchased a return plane ticket to my city a few days before I had run into my intruder. Police put two and two together and arranged for a security update to be done on my property, but I didn't feel safe staying, so we moved. Did that stop Wang? No. I got a phone call the following February, and am informed Wang has been charged with very familiar offenses, as I have previously reported, against someone else, and they wanted my formal statement. I gave them one. Then, feeling unsafe due to someone sneaking around the house late at night, we again moved, and I am informed that Wang has been charged with several offenses related to my statement. I'm not talking about assault or a breach. I'm talking so serious the charges are to be heard in a Supreme Court with a judge and a jury with a maximum of 25 years each charge. If found guilty, yes, Australia's system is a joke to victims of crime. We need one like America's, where life, in most cases, because of 25 years here, is more often than not a maximum of 7 with parole in 2. Nope, not kidding. And fellow Aussies can attest to that as well. So my children and I are rebuilding and getting on with life, except for he creates a dating profile using old pictures that were taken when we were together by using my old email address and locking me out so I couldn't delete the profile. Creates bills in my name and makes reports to Social Security in order to try and have my payments cut, stating I'm married or working. I am neither. I have PTSD. Doing either is far difficult to comprehend. Not only that, but every time I mention is to be heard at court in relation to Wang and the criminal proceedings, I find damage to my property. Nothing major, but something indiscreet, enough to let me know, hey, I was here, and I know you live here. The rear door has been broken into, the fly screen cut on the front window, car broken into, but nothing stolen despite there being valuables inside it, twice. The side gate broken, the front door attempted to be broken into more than once, the motion sensor light smashed. I set up security lights in an attempt to dissuade this piece of crap, and he obviously had no idea. One morning, I wake up to see blood in the pathway leading up to my front gate, and firm fingerprints made in blood, where someone was obviously stood holding the gate watching my house, bleeding. They must have had a weapon. My theory is that he was startled by the security lights that came on and hurt himself. On top of all that, this last hoorah was slashing 2 tires of my car parked in front of my house. All this crap happened 5 years after leaving Wang, during which time he had gone and created a new family and was still facing criminal proceedings. Did it end here? I wish, since being charged due to the cultural background of Wang. He has a lawyer for free, one who has a sweet-talked into believing he is completely innocent and wrongly accused. I say this as his lawyer is determined to beat the charges he is on. They are holding this by finding loopholes in the law, restricting what can be said about the events that occurred during the relationship, arguing against the law that prohibits husbands from being excluded from charges with crimes due to it being contained with a marriage, requesting information pertaining to the entire background, including foster care records and mental health records, school reports and referrals going all the way back to when I was 9 years of age. Yes, from when I was a child, before I even knew Wang existed, in an effort to find something to sway a jury into not guilty beyond reasonable doubt, even extending so far as to challenge the Constitution. Criminal proceedings have been going on for the last 4 years and set to continue into next year, not allowing me to let go. Monsters exist. They're parading around as people that are meant to love and protect you. So please, be wary. If you enjoyed this video, please subscribe, like, and hit the bell for notifications on future videos and become a stalker of the night. And I'll see you next time.